You're like the art critic with a real job as an art critic. That's so
like
cool.
ridiculously guilty about that, but anyways, go ahead.
You should feel guilty about that. How old are you again?
Does it really matter?
Yeah, kind of. Don't you quote, when you quote people, do you put their age?
It's not bad, yeah. In my mid to late 30s, how about that?
Okay, that's cool. And how old is your kid?
Not important.
Defensive.
13 months.
Okay, that's good enough. Such a newspaper guy. How did you get into art criticism? I know you went to NYU for journalism.
Yeah, I mean, boy, this is, I don't want to protract this any more than it has to because I know you guys want to get to your questions. Yeah, I did my master's at NYU. It was in, does anybody really care what I did at NYU? Nobody really cares what I did.
Tell us what matters. Get to the point.
Here's what matters. I ended up, I was unemployed and freelancing in Vancouver, and I saw an ad in the paper looking for the country's best journalist, which I was not. I applied anyway. I got hired by the National Post, which is a gigantic clusterfuck from the beginning, which meant that as a 27-year-old, I ended up as the deputy arts editor, which was really great. And I started writing about art very tentatively at first. I was moved by it. I was interested by it. I had the extraordinary resource of John Bentley Mays, who's in the room right now, which I think we should all be.
Who's been an amazing mentor to many of us.
And he encouraged me. He encouraged me to continue, and 10 years later, here I am.
Do you remember the moment of like what he said to you? Because I remember what he said to me that mattered.
Well, I do remember. I do remember. It was an incredibly hectic sort of first couple months of the Post, and Jeff Wall was opening a gigantic retrospective in Montreal, and nobody was going to touch it because nobody around wanted. I mean, John had moved on. John had started doing something completely different. He was a cultural correspondent, and I was the deputy arts editor, and Jeff Wall was opening in Montreal. It was this huge retrospective, the biggest he'd ever had, and it was just going to fall off the table. So I thought, well, fuck, somebody's got to do this. So I did.
So you reviewed the Jeff Wall show? Was your first art show?
Basically, yeah.
Holy cow.
I mean, that's not true. I'd done quite a number of sort of freelance things when I was in New York for like.
But what did he say that mattered?
What John said. I mean, I wrote this thing about Wall. It was this, we had no ads, so we had nothing in space. So it was like a double truck spread of Wall's images and like 1,500 words of me blathering on.
Kind of like you are right now?
Basically. And John, I got this email from John the next day, and he said, we need to talk. And I was like, shit, I've like totally jumped in on his scene, and he's going to kill me. But we went down and had a coffee, and he said, I'm always looking for people who are interested in writing about art in this country because nobody wants to do it. It's a really hard job. I liked what you wrote, and let's talk. And that was the beginning of a really sort of important liaison, I think. John taught me a lot. And without that encouragement, I don't know, I might have just let it drop.
Okay, so that's awesome. I'm really happy that you did that. I remember what John said to me that mattered. It was 2006. I was a journalism student at Ryerson. That was before I dropped out. And I interviewed J school. That's all I have to say. And I wanted to do it because they don't put art journalism anywhere in their program, and that really pissed me off, even more than these lights right now. And then so I wanted to interview John for to do a profile on him, and he said something that has stuck with me, and that's something that a lot of critics forget, is that artists have a lot to teach us. Yeah, that's important. I never forgot that.
Another great thing that John,
take a step back and remember.
Another great thing that John said to me is if you're going to write about art, you've got to make a choice. You're either going to be a servant of power or a brat.
Whoa, that's a good one. That's what I was waiting for.
I think we know the choice that John made. I'm still working on that myself.
Okay, the next person that I want to introduce is David. David Balzer from Weekly, the art critic and art editor.
Hello, everybody.
Don't you also review theater and stuff?
Of course. I'm a theater and film writer.
Theater and film writer, but how are you an art critic as well?
What do you mean?
Like you're an art critic and the theater reviewer and the film critic?
Yeah.
Really? What happened to Jason Anderson?
Well, I don't write about film for I right now, but I write about film.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've all been there. I've been there. You try and get your editor publish this experimental film stuff, and they're like, shut up. We write about Shrek. So you've recently finished a book because you have some literary merits that a lot of people don't know about. And your book is called Artists in Peril. So I'm imagining...
Exclamation point at the end.
Okay, so Artists in Peril, exclamation point. So it's a book about artists, and you're an art critic. Is there any Toronto characters that we can find in that book?
No.
What's
No.
it about?
I don't know if I'm comfortable talking about that right now, but short stories.
Okay.
So they're kind of like within like the Gothic melodrama tradition, which I love. Yeah, I mean they're just I'd really rather not talk about it, but essentially.
Okay, let's stick to art criticism. How do you know?
But there's no I don't write my life. I'm not one of those people.
Oh.
I mean, I write my life to the extent that I write my ideas, like the things that sort of obsess me, like into my fiction. But that's basically
that
it.
upsets you?
Obsess me.
Oh, obsessed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna like directly transpose a person that I know into a character. That's not what I do.
Okay. And you were on the last panel in 2007 that Nick Brown, but I didn't know you then, and I thought that you were like this timid deer on stage. But you've grown so much and you're kind of a different person now. So happy to have you here. And you've actually like written some pretty like strong art reviews that like been sort of like, whoa. Like where, like, I don't know, like have you ever gotten in trouble for anything that you've written? I remember John told me one thing, I don't know if this is okay to say, but what is the worst that's ever happened?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing happens.
So whenever anybody here has ever gotten a bad review, nobody has ever even written a letter to the editor or nothing?
No. I mean, to the point where I doubt that anybody reads what I write. So why not, why not put yourself out there, as an analyst? Why not just tell the truth?
And it was James Elkins who wrote What Happened to Art Criticism, who said, art critics are the writers without readers. So one reason to bring everybody here together is so we can read each other's writing and give each other feedback so we can make each other better.
I mean, I did have some feedback about my response to Nuit, Blanche, but...
what did people say about it?
Well, I mean, you can read what they said. It's posted on the WHYTE.com website. Summarize what they said? I don't know if I can recall, really. I mean, I think that a lot of people actually came out in support of what I had to say, and that the only resistance that I had was actually from within, from people. I mean, I can't say much about it, but from people, in promotions and marketing and publishing, who were worried that I was being a bit too confrontational and pugnacious in my approach. But as I Weekly, we sort of, we've kind of given up on trying to suck up to potential advertisers because we all know who gets those. So yeah, no, it was I mean, it was largely a positive experience because what I had to defend me internally were all of the supportive comments of people who felt the same way. And it wasn't a radical thing to quote unquote denounce Nuit Blanche in the way I did. It was just giving voice to a lot of people's concerns. So.
Okay, we'll get more into that later because I don't want to hold this up. And if you're getting bored, just yell boring, and then you can jump in. Next up is Otina Corsano. This is Otina, everybody.